Right, so we should be live. We apologise about the delay, but we've had some technical issues which
Guess
I'm
what, folks? It
sure
was
you can
me
probably
yet
guess who
again.
it was that was causing them.
Yeah. It's always me and my blooming technology. Horrendous at it, I am. Horrendous.
Right, so it is our February Q&A. Um,
Yeah.
Quite nice. So everybody who is watching, it'll hopefully build up. They should have got a notification let them know that we've gone live. But we've got a few questions to crack on with. But in the
Brilliant.
meantime, should we do a little plug of your latest video that's on the YouTube channel, just to make sure everybody's watched it? Because on that
Yes.
occasion, that was me that made some technical errors. Um,
Shaky.
but yeah, so we went to Partridge Lakes for our latest video, didn't we? And what was that like on the
So
day?
good. Oh my days, Jake. It was amazing, wasn't it? Like, obviously, those who are regular viewers to what I do, you'll see that, I like to do everything in one, but this literally just went in one and it was absolutely perfect. My only gripe was that once we got the filming done, if I'd have carried on for approximately 3 more minutes, I would have caught you all an instant win goldfish. But instead, Jakey caught it, didn't you?
I did. Let's get a picture of this up because so it was as well. It was I jumped on. You said I'll go for the bruise. I jumped on the box and I think I had one little skimmer first chuck and then second chuck.
Shut up, Jake.
Look at him. Look at him.
Nobody likes to show off, Jakey.
And he was a good one. He was over a pound, I'm saying.
Oh, easy.
A great big
Easy.
goldfish with a big belly on him. And
He was
also,
right.
it was so clear on the day
Yeah.
that I've sort of struck fishing pellets on the bar, struck, and as soon as I struck, I saw it flash just under the surface. And then I'm
You
like
knew straight away.
panicking, like, ooh, I've got.
I just expected like a big holler, a big yell, yeah, instant win, but you didn't, did you? You just sent me a picture.
No.
I heard my phone calls when I went and getting the bruise, but I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, but we got.
And
I took a selfie and sent it to the girls at Partridge, and they were well impressed.
oh, they were on it quicker. They posted it before you even bloody told me.
Yeah.
Yes, Jakey, skills to make skills, but yeah, it was just everything worked perfect. So go and watch that video. Go and check it out.
What give
Really
a bit of an
interesting,
outline of what was the sort of theory behind the day?
Yeah,
What
so
were we thinking?
obviously, when you rock up on these venues, you might have fished them years and years, but if you don't do any careful plumbing up, you're not aware of what we were fishing on, which was bars, underwater ledges and features, and obviously the massive fish holding sort of like places these are. So I decided to fish right on top of the bar, even though it's freezing cold, with pellets. And then we just did a normal mix, my favourite, super sweet ground bait, a few maggots, a few pinkies in, down the shelf in like 4.5 foot, where it was like nice and flat. And it just worked out perfect. It was just amazing. Really, really good. Definitely go and have a look at it. But in the north, I actually say it a few times on video, in the northwest, where we've got a few venues that've got like underwater features. And if you don't like plummets like myself, folks, you'd never know they were there. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it was good. And tying in with that, Sam, the first question we've had in, so Stephen said hi, so hi Stephen, and then Sam has messaged saying that he's fishing trio at Blundell's, which Blundell's is a venue, not so much trio,
Yeah.
but Blundell's is a venue where these underwater bars are quite prominent, aren't they, on
Massive.
the East Canal, West and them lot, aren't they? So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's basically said he's fishing Blundell's on Sunday. How would you approach it? I've been struggling to pull volumes of F1s in on there.
Is he on the trio? Like,
He's on trio, yeah.
He's on trio. Obviously, it's draw depending, especially this time of year when it's really cold. I'd start off dobbing if you can. I know it's all dobbing, it's really long and wide, or like something like a bomb and bread, something like that. And then I'd try and find these underwater features. I think most pegs, they're not like as prominent as East and West, or East in particular. Pine and ash, they're not as prominent as that, but you can get onto these shelves, onto these ledges, these underwater shelves. So get onto them with, I'm not sure if it's still loads of skimmers in. If it's not a skim, yeah, I think there is skimmers in. I'll just go down the pellet route. Micros, expanders, maybe a bit of corn or even hard pellet, things like that. But certainly start off bread. start really negative, or a bit of corn, something like that, bum bread, bum corn, or dob if you can. But it is long fishing, so it depends on wind, and obviously depends where you're drawn. But it's what a fishery, it's like ridiculous. The F1s are huge.
Yeah, I see quite a lot of videos that they put up there, and it is when you see them dobbing, and like Weeder in particular, and he'll have like a lot of pole out to reach the they have a lot of bushes to reach over to, don't they? But they'll fish like 17 metres, 19 metres, like a long way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, no, it's fantastic fishing, and obviously, as all these waters will, get to like 2 o'clock later on in the day, your short maggot line will come into play. So I'd prime that up for sort of like, cause I think the 6, maybe 6.5 hours blunders matches, you get a good innings on them. So just prime that up for a good 3.5, 4 hours and keep trying it every now and again. You might get the little babby fish to start with, but then massive F1s will move in. I'm not sure about the carp. I think it's mainly F1s, but I don't know. But yeah, it's just all about the draw on them there.
Fair enough. Right, so the next question. In fact, what I'll do, we've got a few from Facebook. So I said if they're not going to watch it at lunchtime, they can join back in. Lee Winter has mentioned about, basically he's been using Superfeeder Sweet Fish Meal a lot this year, but he's got loads of other ground baits in the shed. What are they like in terms of like keeping good, basically? On the back of all our ground baits, it's a best before date, so if it does happen to go over the best before date, they will be fine. There's nothing in there that's sort of gonna go off as such. It's dry ingredient, it's not gonna sort of spoil. It is a best before, so we do sort of, I think, from the day that we mix and bag it and grind the pellets, I think we put like an 18-month or 2-year best before date on there. It's like anything, best before, it's not going to sort of spoil and go sour if unmixed and not damp, but it's a best before.
I've used ground baits that I've had in me garage or shed, whatever, for 5-6 years. I've had them in there and they're still absolutely fine. They still smell exactly the same, so don't let that put you off. The worst thing that can be is if you get them blooming moths or mice or something like that make a little babby hole in your ground bait, and then obviously it just goes horrible. And so if you store them in like a proper container, plastic container, not in the cardboard box or anything like that, then they'll be fine. They'll last and last and last. Yeah,
it's just looking out for them weevils, isn't it? I don't know what they are, where they come from.
That's it. Yeah. Buggers they are. Absolute pains.
Yeah, and then he's then backed that question up, and I've come preparedly. So you've asked, how do we soften wafters for bayoneting? So as the name suggests, band and wafter, developed and designed to be going in a band. And as you can hear, like when they're straight from the factory, they are a bit hard, basically, so that you try and get a bayonet in there in the middle of winter when your fingers are cold, and you try and put your nail into it, to push the bayonet in, and it is hard.
I've got squashy ones there, JK. I've got squashy ones there. You taught me well, mate.
Yeah, so basically the thing that I think we're all doing it now is basically using the absolute liquid flavour and literally put in a drop or two. So you get your tub with your absolute liquid flavour. Personally, I like to match it, so like washed out and washed out. I know for a fact that Jamie just glugs it in like salted caramel on everything. Des just sticks banoffee on everything. I don't know whether you match or go, but I'm pretty certain you just whack your favourite one on, don't you? Personally, I like to match it. But you literally just go like a couple of drizzles like that, barely anything. It's literally just enough to put a bit of moisture in there. It's going to preserve them. It's also going to boost the flavour. And then just give them a shake around. Make sure that it's not sort of sat in any liquid. And as you can see, there's not loads in there. It's literally just like sort of, I don't know, coated the side of the tub, and just that's enough. And what you'll find is they'll soften through, and you'll just be able to stick a bayonet in them lovely. So if you prefer to bayonet over banding, that's the thing to do, and just leave them wherever on your desk in the week before you go fishing, and just give them a little shake and a turn around throughout the week, and they'll be absolutely perfect. And I'm pretty certain all of us are doing that now, aren't we? Because
Definitely.
Bayoneting, especially in winter. I think in summer, where it's generally you're catching more fish, banding's just really quick, isn't it? You can just swap. But in the winter, that's
the beauty of these baits, though. Obviously, Jay, they're so versatile. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can put a band on them, or you can spike them as well. That's the beauty of them. Obviously, wafters, sinkers, things like that. Each to their own. I know, obviously, J-Lad doesn't like the wafters. I absolutely adore wafters, and I don't really use sinkers that often. Everyone, that's the beauty, isn't it? That's fishing down to a T. Everyone's different.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's great.
And like we said, like Andy just said there, the reason that obviously they're versatile, the reason they're actually hard is because they're so consistent. So like you could, similar with the ground bait, you could open that tub in 5 years and the wafters are still going to be a wafter, whereas if you make them and they're soft, what you find is over time they harden and they stop either being a wafter and they start being a sinker, or vice versa. And that's not what you want. If you know you've got a 6mm wafter that balances lovely with a size whatever 14 kkh or whatever it is, that's what you want to do. You don't, even though obviously it's sort of taught in it, have a tub of water. I know I don't, because I know in my head that's what hook I use for that hook bait.
You're just one of them, aren't you?
Yeah.
Hook it in, that'll do.
In it goes. But you do, like, well, I don't want to have to test every single hook bait on my side tray before I cast every single time. I just want to know
that confidence that everyone's doing this job in it the same as the last one.
Exactly.
And that's what you get with these.
And that's perfect. Right, let's move on to some more questions. Mark Shipley has said, fishing at Hallcroft on Saturday, Silvers match. What ground bait should I be using? Also, any worth in expander pellets?
Right, so I've only fished Hallcroft, I'm going to say, like 3 times. It's always been this time of year. What was his name? Was it Mark?
Mark, yeah.
Mark, yeah. It's always been sort of winter time, Mark. Once I've done really good on pellets, and that were, well, it was like March time. That was the Angling Trust Final, actually. It came third in that. Got to get that in. And that was fishing micros and expanders short on 2 lines. But it was that time of year. Well, it's cold, I know for a fact that they're still catching on ground bait, real miniature worms up and sort of fish it out. Ground bait wise, definitely this one. This is my favourite. It's in the all wide world at the minute. Super sweet. Not so much anything else. I'll just go super sweet. If you want to dilute it a little bit, maybe with a bit of soil or something like that. My other favourite mix, if there's roach present, I'd put black roach in, but there's not many roach at Hallcroft, so it's all these big skimmers, little skimmers, big skimmers, is perch as well. I'd have 2 swims, one at sort of 13 metres, one at 14.5, sort of like separate to each other, and just feed one, fish it out, and then go and fish the other one whilst you're priming that one again. But certainly mincing the worms is massive. Over wet ground bait, like a stodgy mix, and just put it in the clump so the fish are coming in and pecking over the top of it. Loose feed didn't really work on the long line, but it does work exceptionally well on the short line, but you've got to prime it. Now, that short line, the last 2 times I fished a festival last year, 2-day festival. Both days I got 2 giddy with the loose feed and just drew too many carp in. It was freezing cold. You wouldn't have thought the carp would feed, but they did. They just go nuts if you get it wrong. So what I do on that short line is put quite a lot of bait in, 4 or 5 big pots, loose but over wet ground bait, with casters in. They love the casters on there. And then maybe try a wormhead on the hook or single, double red, dead maggot, something like that. It is prone to undertow as well, and don't let that put you off. Fish a lighter rig than what you'd normally do and let it drift. Feed in the same spot, but let your rig drift through left or right, whichever the way the tow's going. And that's the way I target that short swim. Rather than loose feed, I probably pot everything. But it's getting the long swims right, and just switching between the two. Don't exhaust them, and be patient. Wait. It was like a good 40-50 minutes before I had my first bite, and then it's just steady away. Everything's decent. Fish light elastics, 5, 6s elastics on there, 18s, 16s up, something like that, and just put everything down. The bites are at a premium and what have you. But I mean, Matt and Frankie and Dempsey put posts on all the time, don't they? And they catch so many fish. I wish it was closer. I fish it all the time. It's amazing fishing. Maybe even starting off on a little baby feeder or a waggler or something. Just while your postrums are priming for that first half an hour, 40 minutes. It might get you an extra, 1 or 2 bonus skims or something like that. But it's a hell of a venue. Dark ground baits, definitely. And as I say, that's super sweet at the minute. Oh, mate, it's just ridiculous. Mixed over wet, it just, can't get enough of it.
You love it, don't you? What are you actually kicking those 2 lines off? Do you have a negative and a positive swim, 2 negative lines?
Like the 30 metre one where I'd probably start off on. I'm putting a little tiny sort of stodgy ball in, loads of mince worms, a few pinkies, a few maggots, a few casters in, and then 1 foot and a half like out away from myself to my left hand side, I'll put a slightly bigger ball in. So let's say slightly less than a golf ball size on my 13 metre and maybe tangerine, even orange size one, like full 250ml pot on my 14 and a half one. So I'm fully expecting to catch on that one first. I say I might leave that initial baiting for like an hour, just over an hour, before I even top up that. And then by the time I go on that one, then that's usually, but then fish definitely come short. Last sort of couple of hours they will come short, and that's where you catch them just at the bottom of that ledge, them skimmers.
Beautiful.
Fantastic fish.
Sounds great. I've been there I've not fished any matches there myself anytime recently, but I've been with Lee a couple of times, and it is brilliant fishing. And when they rock up on that short line, that's when you can do the damage, isn't it? Because they're generally then better bream and big skimmers.
I mean, it seems it cries out, you think, for like pellets, but I still think it's a little bit early. The beauty, like obviously natural baits, you're going to catch everything swimming. There's some big perch in there. There's odd roach in, but hybrid skimmers and bream, them the ones. And obviously when it comes a bit warmer, you can't beat pellets for sure, but still now I'd err towards ground bait and natural baits, definitely.
Very good. Right, afternoon Andrew and Gary and Lee. Andy, have you got any plans for how you are going to fish your next final that you're in? So where is it to start with? Meadowlands?
Oh, it is. You know what? I'm going skiing for the first time ever, folks. Half-term holiday coming up, so like 2 or 3 weeks.
So if you don't have a broken leg or a broken arm,
I'm just gonna après ski all the time, Jake. I'm staying in the bars, mate. So fingers crossed I won't come back with any. I don't mind broken legs or broken arms. That's not good. I'm only going on the nursery slopes. I think the incline's like that. It's basically flat. It's to win, and I'm only going to win. It's going to be pellets, Marco's expanders, bit of corn on the long line, and then casters or maggots short. I'm not taking any natural ground baits with me or anything like that. Fish mealy ground baits. It's going to be probably Super Crush, and then F1 Original, something like that, and then obviously Marco's, and that is going to be my plan of attack. Formal expanders on the hook, bit of corn, and that's it. I'm not going to go for anything else. I'm not going to get a chance to go and practice or anything. And the last 2 times I've been in that final, it's always been won on pellets. You can't compete with anything else, simple as that. So that's what I'm going to go for. And then the other final is Barston. That's the Angling Trust one in March, and I imagine that'd be, I don't know about Barston, Jake. I reckon it'd be maggots and ground bait and possibly pellets. I don't know.
Where's that one?
Barston.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so out of touch with that at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be able to go and have a little play there.
I just remember that the skimmers that were this big, like a few years ago, are now like this big, and it's just
be, I imagine
completely. It'll be pellety.
Like 7th, 8th of March when the final is. It's going to be pellety then, I would have thought. So it's going to be a bit of a fish race, and probably start off on a feeder and then come back to the pole line. So fingers crossed we get some pennies won, so I can repay Jamie a little bit more the money he's given me over the years.
And Jamie's had a bit of like a subtle year, but still just done loads of picking up, hasn't he?
It's like, he's won like what you'd win in a big and maybe a bit more. He's always thereabouts.
Yeah, just by framing in everything, hasn't he? But not necessarily winning everything.
It's the little Bobby festivals. In the little Bobby festivals, he's picking up 2, 3, 4 grams. Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. Richard Webb says, want to go back to roots and fish some of the canals I used to fish years ago. Which Sonubaits ground bait would be ideal for spring to autumn fishing on the Grand Union Canal? Right.
Oh, this is you, JK. This is all you.
It is, but so the Grand Union Canal is an interesting one because it's always very, very coloured. So I fished a Division 1 National on there 2 years, so it wasn't last year because that was on the Gloucester Canal. Pretty certain it was the year before that, and it was very, very coloured. You still catch on bread even when it's proper coloured, so bread's still a really good bait, Richard, so it's something to have in your armoury anyway. You don't catch well on it, but what you used to do is you'd feed it and catch one straight away, a big skimmer or a bream, like instantly, in 3 foot of water across or whatever. Ground bait wise is interesting because you're wanting to catch them skimmers. I would personally use something like So Natural Canal Black, it used to be called So Natural, just So Natural Black, but we've changed it, So Natural Canal Black, with sweet skimmer. So you've got like a nice dark mix, but then with the biscuity sweetness of sweet skimmer. But the Grand Union Canal is probably one of the best skimmer canals in the country. So something like what Andy's got there is like a fish meal mix, like Super Sweet, which is just a nice sweet fish meal ground bait, is going to be great. Because
that's a bit too light from there, Jakey, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it'd work. Like even a mix of the two. Like you still want a nice light, fluffy, nice ground bait on there. But I just think because of the amount of skimmers that you're usually fishing for, I don't think often on the Grand Union these days you're competing with like nets of roach. It's not like a 5 to 8 pound venue where you're catching that of roach. It'll be an 8 to 12 pound venue where majority of that skimmers with some other fish mixed in. And I think probably at the start of the year, your natural mixes, your bready, biscuity mixes are going to be better, and getting towards the back end of autumn. But at some point in the middle, when it's at its best and the fish are most active and the skimmers are feeding, I think that it'll be out and out fish meal when you're using ground bait. There's still your sort of perch lines down the middle on worms and things like that, but even that I think you can get away with putting a little nugget of a sweet fish meal mix in, like Super Sweet or F1 Dark or a bit of Thatcher's or whatever combination you're confident in, and to be honest, you're likely to end up catching doing that, because it is one of those venues which is quite far down the line in terms of fish meal mixes are overtaking your sort of natural mixes. A bit like you like Gloucester Canal. I know they're completely different types of canal, but where skimmers are the dominant species when you're fishing a match or fishing a session, and therefore you have to sort of go down that route to compete to win your matches and catch those fish. That's what I'm going with. Hope that helps.
Just fill it in with maggots and catch a load of eels.
Yeah, to be fair, there's an odd big perch. I'm not sure. I don't know whether eels really came into play in the Division 1. I think we sort of put a worm line in, but caught perch, and then you even caught like you'd loose feed an odd maggot, and you might catch an odd skimmer doing that as well. But I just remember we sort of fished 2 lines, bread, and that was like first chuck. A lot of the times you'd put a decent bread punch, and you'd catch a skimmer. Seemed weird because of how coloured it was that bread would be good, but they just liked it. The problem on there is the amount of boats that come through. You'd feed bread, and then as soon as a boat came through, like, it was gone. It's just gone. Right, Andrew White. Hi, Andy and Jake. I am going to Westwood Lakes in February. Any tips? Probably fishing skylark. This is one for you, Andy.
Westwood. I've only ever fished it. I've only ever fished it once, and that was a feature. So I wouldn't have a clue what it's like this time of year. But obviously, Westwood being Westwood, it's just like ridiculous amount of fishing there. I'd go down probably micros and expanders. Another waking up on micros and expanders at Partridge now, and obviously with it being similar, with it being Snake Lakey F1s, carp, I'd give that a try to start with. Possibly find 2.5 foot of water. I know it said it's shallow on all over the place on Monday. I can't remember which one it is. Is that the one the other fisher wants, Skylark? I don't know.
I should know, but I don't think it is.
It's a falcon. I don't know. So I'd start off a macros and expander, and then just go to maggots. Maggots down the tracks, maggots in the edges, maybe a little bit of ground bait, bit of this. Definitely, if you like, I'm sure you'll have ground bait on there. Bit of super gush expander, always works well all through the year, but especially sort of like when it's a little bit colder, because there's not as much food content in it, and it draws fish into your peg lovely. Don't overfeed them. So I'd go down that kind of route. I would definitely.
Nice. Yeah, it's generally prolific, isn't it, at Westwood? And I think the quickest way to catch is the shorter and closer to you that you can catch them, and in as shallow water as possible is generally the best. But in February might be a little bit different. It probably means that you don't
know though, Jay. I went to Monk Hall on Monday, Tuesday, and it's just ridiculous there, mate. It was freezing cold, and it was a carp every time we went in. It was amazing. So who knows?
Nice. And Stephen Piner has said, I fish a Snake Lake where the near and far margins are dead this time of year. How many swims would you create for positive and negative swims to try catching a few silvers?
Silvers? I've never really been one for being negative with silvers, mate. Skimmers possibly, but not if you like roach, eyed, perch. You've got to be pretty aggressive, I'd say. So your loose feed's going to come into it with that kind of fish. If it's skimmers, then yeah, you can sort of like leave a line, you know, put a little bit of ground bait in, a few pellets, a bit of mushworm, something like that, and leave it, fish it out. But anything else, roach, your eyes, your perch, things like that, you've got a loose feed, so maggots, casters and that. As for features, I know you're saying they don't catch on the shelves near and far, but they are natural fish holding features. I'm going to say depth is irrelevant. It's obviously where the fish want to be, and they love patrolling them kind of, you know, them kind of features under the water, the shelves and what have you. So definitely don't discount them. Your main swim, by the sound of it, probably will be in the deeper water down the middle. And if that's the case, then just have one left and one right. You know, go sort of like 11 metres out your peg one way in the middle, and the same to your right out of the middle. But definitely have something in the shallow water on the slopes, near and across, and it should do you well, definitely. But don't discount, you know, putting a bit of feed in if there's, you know, certainly roach and what have you in the lake.
Good. Michael Quick has said, why is it that when you're not catching, but then you pick your flask up to pour a brew, the tip goes round?
It's either that or when you go and go up for a wee. You might literally just get up, stand up, push it like, there, yeah, there we go, and your tip's like,
and you're like that, just keeping one eye.
Oh no, come on, go. And then when you get back out, come on. It's the same when you like leave your waggler in or something like that, you float like straight away, doink. No. Yeah, it is. That's why like the Lee Kerry and that, they take like 5 class with them. They know they're going to get a bite every time they go pour one. It is right though, that, definitely.
Andy, what date is the next Winning Ways Q&A this month?
Oh, so possibly, well, not possibly, it will be next week, either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
When do you go skiing?
When's our term? So 97. Break on the 16th or the 17th. I think we go the 19th to the 24th, and then the final is on the 25th on the Sunday. Oh. So, and it's my birthday while I'm away as well. So yeah, pretty ski. If you want JK.
Magic Man Fan says, any tips for Makin's Lake 5, the one the boat used to be in, for silvers this weekend? Cheers, Mark. It's Mark Egan.
Hello, Mark. So it's the one with I thought it was still in there, that boat, that pirate ship one, the one right next to the cafe. That's Lake 5, isn't it? I've been on that a couple of times, mate.
One of the best silvers lakes there,
isn't it? This is what, JK?
It's a really good silverfish lake, or it always used to be.
Oh, it's amazing. Both times I've been sort of like October time. In fact, I've done a live match on there, Winning Ways live match. Qualifier when Des shit beat me. He won the match, I was second, but he qualified. How dare you, Des? But it was amazing. It's a little bit, I'm sure it was deeper shorter than what it was out long. It was all about long fishing. Micros and expanders didn't really work. It was far better, naturally mixed with your worms, your casters, your maggots, and loose feedy, a few casters short. It wasn't prolific short, but when you got one, it was like a real big decent skimmer or a perch. Again, there's so many carp in there. It was a bit milder when I fished it, obviously, granted, October time, but the carp when they rocked up, I'm going to say I didn't have a skimmer for the last 2 hours on the last one there, but that long fishing was lovely. Just make sure you're fishing sort of around your bait. Don't go right over your bait because it fishes like mad. Fish around your bait on little bits of worm. You know, disco pink in the red maggot was definitely the best, and it's mixing that up over wet and just fishing it out with loads of mince worms. Don't have loads of swims anywhere. Just literally just have your one in front of you, flick it out past your loose feed, and then one at like 13 with a dolly boat, but then get ready to go to 14 with a dolly boat. Just takes them around all over the place, but it's lovely on there, proper.
Yeah, I like it. I remember Joe Caris and myself always we'd either go to Meadowlands and fish Warren or Macon.
Christmas things.
We'd go and do like a little Christmas day out. We'd always get like a load of donuts and treats and stuff, and just have a day's fishing and like Macon Lake Fire.
Well, it was my invite, Jakey.
I know it was just a magazine-y one. But then saying that, you were my main guy at the magazine as well, so should have done.
Invite. I'll rare you.
We'll have to do a Sonu one.
Button, yeah. Dying.
We'll have to do a Sonu one, but you wouldn't do another match after I won it last year.
Oh.
Winning Ways Christmas champion.
Mate, yeah, that's it. The one and only.
Paula has asked, do you ever use 2mm pellets as feed unwetted?
No, never ever in your wide world ever. Just simply because they'll float and they'll take fish out of your peg. You don't know, the ones that do sink, you don't know what rate they're sinking at. If there's any amount of wind under the tone of water or fish coming up in the water for them, they're going to blow all over the place and just mess your peg up basically. Fish are going to be everywhere. It's far better to, even if you just wanted to sort of like dink it in the water and drain it off straight away, it's still going to have that weight to the pellets and they aren't all going to sink. But 100% I would not recommend using pellets straight out of the bag. You've got to, certainly 2mm, you've got to prepare them, you know what I mean? Definitely.
Good stuff. When do we? The Shadow has asked, when do we find out when and where fish show is? Thank you. I'm assuming means the qualifiers and the final. Yeah.
Oh well, you can get your first ticket tomorrow. Angling Trust, got to be an Angling Trust member. Everyone's entitled to one ticket, so go and get one tomorrow, and then they go on general release on Monday. There's quite a few new venues in this year, so keep your eyes open for them. And the final, I'm sure it's the 27th, if that's a Friday in July, and it's at Westwood. It's at Westwood again.
Nice. Good knowledge. Fantastic knowledge.
On it, Jakey, on it, mate.
What's your one ticket going to be then, if you're only allowed one?
I mean, Jay shouted at me, said, just go for the first one. First one is at Tunnel Barn, but I'm going to get Old Huff. Old Huff always goes there quick, and obviously it's 5 minutes from my house, so I'm going to get that one.
Yeah.
Are you going to go for something, Keith?
Yeah, I will, because like obviously back up there, so it's good. They're a lot more local to me now, so like Old Huff, love it, and I think Old Huff's one of them venues. I often go through them and I go like I look at them and I go, well, that venue's probably got 5 pegs where you can win from. Whereas I always look at Old Huff and go, well, I reckon there's
been one. I reckon different every time.
Yeah, and I reckon there's 3 or 4 pegs on every lake that's like very good. And even like we were there the other day, weren't we? When we spoke to Melvin, he thought Upper Bembo would probably win, and that's probably my favourite lake. But
yeah,
you look at that lake and you think all that first bank on there can win, both end pegs on the other bank can win, and that's just one lake. And then you go through some of the other lakes and like it's such an even venue in terms of the winning weight's generally not ridiculous, and therefore it makes it a really tight match, which I just prefer, because you've got a better chance, haven't you? You draw one of them.
It's such a good one in respect that you've got to go to your peg no matter where you draw, because you just generally don't know. There's some venues you go to, if you used to go into them, you draw it and you're like, oh, for goodness sake, you know what I mean? But there, I'll just go to your peg, simple as that. Yeah, great venue.
Yeah, that's what I like. You want to go and have a day's fishing, and you always do with Old Huff. Like I say, weights aren't always ridiculous. Like it might be I reckon 90 to 115 pounds or like winning weight. I think there was one year where Big Max fished really well, wasn't it? And
right weight last year, 170, 180 maybe, I think it was. Yeah. But I've had just over £50 last year. I didn't really think I'd caught much. It just shows you know what I mean? So really good. I was on Goose last year and that fished really well. Not late.
Yeah, definitely. Alan Oliver, can I just take a moment to thank Andy for his helping? I'm in my 60s now. I got back into it into fishing after 20 odd year break. Andy helped me no end because it was literally mind boggling. So that's Alan Oliver. Has he had a lesson with you, or is it just watching videos?
It might have just been through messages. Hey, you're welcome, Alan. Not a problem at all, mate. More than welcome. Glad to see you. Glad to see you back in it. You know, that's why we do these videos. That's why we go out filming. We absolutely adore what we do, and you know, can pass on any information, that kind of thing, to any of you, then it feels it's a job well done from us. So cheers, mate. It's nice to hear feedback sometimes, isn't it, Jakey? Because we do get the odd negative comment. You know what I mean? It's just one of them things. Can't please everyone, but you try. Being in this situation and trying to please, you can't do it. All walks of life and that. So
for every Alan though, that's like makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right, Robert Driscoll, Jake, can I just say I've got my heated seat after the fallout with the missus. Typical when I don't need it. What? Because it's warmed up, Robert. It's going to be got your heated seat and it's gone to 14 degrees this weekend or whatever it's going to be.
I know, it's been freezing the last 2 days. And I've scraped the van last 2 days.
Yeah, at least, Robert, you never know with the UK, do you? Like, it could get. I think it is actually going to drop back off in a couple of weeks, isn't it? It's going to
forecast a right big freeze coming, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's picked up for this weekend, but I think it's going to drop back off towards the back end of February. So you will get used of it after all. I'm not sure. Yeah, hopefully you make up with the missus, but if not, if that's for the best, hopefully not. Right, Mark Gallagher. Great show, lads. Can you recommend a ground bait mix for small skimmers and roach? I need to catch 20 pound of them to smash up our Silvers Winter League. Thanks and tight line.
Super crushing and a bit of black roach, I'd say. Just darken off a little bit. Bit of activity, but then obviously you want that little bit of fish meal in, or that'll get everything in your perk. I don't keep banging on about it. I can't get enough of it. I've opened a little bit in the corner because it smells so good, Jakey. Anything fish meal, but obviously you want a little bit of activity in there as well, and that black roach with it fizzing a little bit with the hemp and what have you in there does make a difference, definitely. But obviously they probably have two different swims. Have a loose feedy one for the roach and then a bit more sort of like not as active one for the skimmers, something like that.
Yeah, it does. £20, it all does depend whether that is made up of, by the looks of it, that's going to be a mixture of skimmers and roach. That it's something that Des has done quite a lot, that, isn't it? Like mixing fish meal with like black roach is what he uses as well. And I think
he's the one who put me onto it, and then obviously I spoke to you about it and you were the same, weren't you? You said Des does it.
Yeah, I'm sure it can only help. I think that like activity of the crushed hemp within the natural mix is probably just sending up, like just making it so much more attractive, isn't it, and drawing more fish in all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Stephen said, ignore any negative comments, lads. My fishing has improved tenfold thanks to watching your videos and winning ways as a member.
Oh, cheers, Stephen. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that.
Like this. Come on. More of them. Robert Driscoll. Serious question. Where do you fish when the pond's iced over?
I stay in and go to the pub. Now, obviously, rivers, we've got so many rivers are overlooked. Obviously, they've been out of sorts a bit over the last few weeks, obviously with the amount of blooming rain that we have, but just getting your rivers, your little babby nicky-nacky new rivers that I call them, not like the likes of the Wye and the Severn and the Trent, your little tiny little brooks and stuff like that. There's so many fish in them, these like backwaters that flow into the main rivers. You can have fantastic days on them, just fishing really light. We've done a few videos on it through Winning Ways. I've got an amazing river near me, and that's where I go. For an hour or two, just get away from it all. Even like really late on. After I pick the kids up from school, I'll go for an hour, just catch a few grayling, a few brownies, something like that. Maybe they'll chub them. Sometimes I might not even get a bite, which is very often. How dare you? But travelling light with a bait apron, a few maggots in, the stick flow, just amazing. You can cover so much water as well, and keep yourself warm by travelling. There's loads and loads of rivers like that, so have a good scout around there. I'm sure you'll find some. But generally, that's what you do when the waters are froze. But generally, they're going waffling now, aren't they, Jakey? Even if they are froze, breaking the ice on a lot of waters as well, if you're allowed, obviously. You seem to catch more now than what you used to, don't you? You don't, like back in the day, you break the ice and you wouldn't get a bite. You knew you wouldn't get a bite, but you just sit there. But now, the way some of these fisheries are stocked, if you just go, softly approach, you're gonna get bites. It's amazing.
I'm not sure where you're based, Robert, but I know, like for example, partridge in the northwest. Obviously, if you're southern, it obviously isn't a benefit. But there will be venues similar where, like Nell and Logan, actually go around breaking. So they will help you if it is frozen over on days like that. They'll go round and break the ice for you. And I know that it's not sort of practical for everyone to be doing that. Whether just not got the gear to do it in terms of like icebreakers or that, or physically can't be doing things like that. There are generally venues around where if you ask them, they've got the kit to be able to do it to help you go fishing. So he's North Link, so that's the east side of the country, and it's a bit different. But I'm sure there are venues over there where they'll do that. At the end of the day, you can only ask, and if they want you to go fishing there, if it's fully frozen over and you can't do that, then they're going to have to, aren't they? So,
that's it.
Yeah, but I know partridge are great like that. They do that sort of thing, don't they?
Oh yeah, always help out.
So Tom Spring has asked. He wants to know how to basically the best setup on the feeder for catching a bit of everything, medium-sized fish, perch, a bit of everything on the feeder, basically.
What's his name, Jakey? Sorry.
Tom.
Tom, go and check out the video that me and Jamie did on Winning Ways last year from Baden Hall. I think it was the feeder off something like it was a challenge that we did, and it's all explained on there. It's the simplest setup in the world. I've just got a snap link swivel on that's just running up my line on my main line, coming down to two like little rubber stops, and then I do a twizzle boom of sort of 5 or 6 inches. Little baby loop in that twizzle boom that I put my hook length on, which was straight out of the packet, 6 inches straight out of the packet. So my hook length's all sort of like 12 inches or something like that. And then just, obviously change the size of your feeder, start off on a bit of a bigger feeder, age feeder if it's, not too deep, and then just change the size of it throughout the day. But go and check out that video, it's all on there. It's such a simple way of fishing. I don't fish any other way now, because a lot of certainly old commercials, pretty much they're all, you've got to have free running feeders. There's natural waters where you can still have it fixed, but I'd probably still do free running feeders now, even on natural waters. But obviously you can get these little feeder links as well, which hang a lot lower on your main line to avoid like the silt and things like that. So go and have a check out of them, mate, definitely.
Very good. What's your thoughts on the topic of feeder links? What's your thoughts on them? Like, is it a small fish thing, a big fish thing? Is it like, so I've had a play with them myself, like Gloucester Canal fishing, on the Weaver as well. I had a day was it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year in a Riverfest qualifier on the Weaver. And I probably had a spell where I've had more bites on the feeder without connecting with fish than I've ever had. I was getting linered to death, loads of indications, and I couldn't hit them. And I put a feeder link on. I just created one. I had some power gum in my feeder bag, and I just created a little like sort of 3-inch link with that. Just twizzled it up and basically added that on. And I had just been sort of attaching my feeder on a snap link up the line, which is what I would do when it's more better skimmers and bream fishing. Even though the setup's the same, I put a little link on and started hitting every bite, and they were these little pommy like skimmer things, and they were a nightmare.
Those massive eyes,
your little silver bream type looking things. And it was them, and they were like this sort of size, but a nightmare to hook when my feeder was sort of direct to the line, essentially.
Just feel all that resistance, Jake. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
If your feeder's going too much into the silt or debris or anything like that, just picking it up, feeling it, and then just going off. Whereas obviously with your paternoster, if you like, with your feeder link on, it's sitting above. When your feeder's in the silt, your main line, so your hook length sitting above, and there's no resistance there. That's why you're hitting them, definitely. It does make a difference.
Yeah. So you're thinking smaller, finicky fish with a link, bigger fish get away without a link.
Yeah, definitely. Just tow you in, don't they?
Yeah, nice. Sussed it. Matt Limforth, afternoon, lads. Matt's a lad that I've fished with at Moorlands. And he's, I've already told Jake many times, but I've got to agree with Andy. That super sweet is somewhat special. It goes in every mix.
Yeah, boy. You know the schnizzle, mate, definitely. It's so good. So glad Jakey put me onto that.
Now, Moorlands just stinking of it. Robert Driscoll, back to the ice breaking. So would you tend to fish in deeper water when you broke the ice?
Would I fish in deeper water?
Yeah. So basically, if you broke the ice, let's do an open water lake and a snake lake.
Yeah.
Where would you be targeting on those lakes?
So Snake Lake, I'd want to get straight across. Break it straight across. 2 channels or whatever, or break a big channel out. Fish in the shallow water, then you've got obviously the best of both worlds. And again, same on open water. My icebreaker is up to 16 metres, so I know when it's its full length, I've broken it to 16 metres. And yeah, 100% obviously on open water, generally the water's going to be deeper the further away from yourself you go, and that's where you want to get to. Sometimes they'll come closer in, but generally they want to stay that little bit further out in the deeper water I found on open water. But Snake Lakes, you're catching right from the shallow water, but you've got to make sure you break it across, definitely.
Excellent. Right, let's see what other questions we've got. So you've got Meadowlands. Are you out at all before your Meadowlands, or just?
I won't get a chance, mate. Not unless we go and do some filming there. I might persuade Jay and Rich to go there and we'll get something done. So I probably do need to go and have a little bit of a play. Yeah, definitely.
Just to get your eye in.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And what would a typical practice session for you be? What if you turned up and we're going
Let Jamie fish, sit down and watch him.
Let Jamie figure it out for you.
Obviously, I've fished Meadowlands before, and I've fished that style of fishing loads and loads before, but obviously you still got to get your eye in, because obviously venues change from one year to the next. But it'll basically, one of us will be fishing natural baits, one of us will be on pellets, Jamie, and just seeing what's what. Generally, obviously natural baits are going to be better closer in, and then the pellets further out. So we'll just see what happens on the day. We did it a couple of years ago and it seemed to work out really well. I actually caught more on natural baits needed on pellets, but didn't materialise in the final, did it, JK? You know what I mean? So it's just one of them things. So that's all it'll entail. Obviously, not doing the same thing, just doing 2 completely different things and seeing what's better, what works better.
Fair enough. Tony House has said, can you give me a summer ground bait for commercials to catch all fish, ground bait and the ground bait to water ratio, please?
Oh, blooming heck. So I love the Power Scopex. That's my favourite in the whole wide world, and it's literally 1-to-1. So 1 tub of ground bait to 1 tub of water, and then just leave it and then put it through a riddle. You'd be amazed how much ground bait you get. So from like our Western pint bait, which are 1.1 pint, a full pint of that and a full pint of water, you get near enough 3 pints of ground bait from that. So be careful with it. You can get a good 4 or 5 sessions out of like 1 bag, out of a 2 kilo bag. But I just absolutely adore when you smell that Power Scope. It's like wow, it's just amazing. And obviously the amount of water, you think you've ruined it, you put it in one. I don't mean like add bits at a time like you need to for your natural ground bait. It's literally and then give it a mix through, leave it 20 minutes, put it through a riddle, and it's just amazing. It's perfect.
That is because with Power Scope X, because it is 90% expander, like your Super Crush expander, your F1 original, because they are pellets. It's a bag of crush pellets, and in particular with those particular mixes, obviously they're all slightly different. Because it's crushed expanders, they just absorb the water, and that's why you can sort of get away with mixing it as you're saying there, because you're essentially pouring water into something that's just going to sponge and absorb all of that water up.
This stuff, that stuff is exactly the same. Literally exactly the same, but I wouldn't necessarily use that on like mud lines in the summer, just because it's so light, just wafts away. That soap is a little bit heavier, just sits in like a nice little pile. All the fish love it. Can't wait for summer.
And then in terms of like another great all-rounder to throw into the mix, I don't think you can go far wrong in terms of if you were to say one mix to do everything, whether that's margin fishing, mudline fishing, putting around a method feeder, match method mix is like tried and trusted. Can't go wrong. Again, it's got a good percentage of expanders in there, but it's also got some sort of ground course pellets, a bit of extra fish meal in there as well. So
it's really strong fish meal in that one.
So as an all-rounder, it's sort of like a middle of the road sort of potency as such. It's not quite like your chunky fish or your 50/50s that are like very strong. It's sort of middle of the road. Probably your tier up from your like F1s and your Power Scope X in terms of fish meal, but a great all rounder. So one of them. Have a little bit of a play through it once it warms up a bit, and you'll soon work out which one catches you the most.
And don't forget, folks, with the match method mix, get your method out first before you try and put it through a riddle, because they don't go through riddles.
Or
I always forget, mate.
Or when you get your drill in there and start drilling a method feeder around.
I always bloody forget. It's always a bloody method.
Yeah. So with that, with the mixing wise, I think as a rule we say a pint for every kilo is a general rule, but obviously, like Andy mentioned, with the expander based mixes, it's pretty much 1-to-1 because how much water. With your general ones where there's sort of a mixed pellet, then yeah, we sort of say 1 pint to 1 kilo is a good starting point, and then you can tweak it to sort of suit whatever situation you're faced with. Alan Oliver, on my local pond I catch good sized bream, however if I strike at a lift I miss it. If I strike at a dink I miss. If I wait for a positive down under bite I'm hooking fish quite deep. Any advice? So basically lift bites are resulting in missed bites.
I would say lift bites are usually like the bestest bites in the world. They're normally on. So to say the lift bites in that scenario, and they're going to be just line bites, fish coming into you. So the bottom's there, the fish are going to be slightly off the bottom and just brushing past your rig, and obviously that's causing your rig to lift up. The little dinks, they could be from small fish, and if you're in the sail away slow bites, generally that's right what you're doing, but you might be putting too much line on the bottom. So plumb up again and plumb up to like halfway down the body or the bottom of the body of the float, obviously depending on conditions on the day. Use different size plumbers as well. Start off with like a heavy plummet, really find out how deep the silt is if it's silty, and then go on with the lighter one, just so you can like really plumb up carefully around the area. But that sounds like what's happening if you're not connecting with them lift bites, which lift bites being lift bites, you normally hit them all the time. It sounds like this fish slightly off the bottom, so it could be something to do with your feed. You might be putting a bit too much feed in, and if they're deep up, then you're fishing too much over depth, definitely.
I exactly what you've just said there. I fish a venue. It's quite a deep venue where I've had similar thing, and generally what happens if you put too many like micros or too many like live maggots or pinkies in your ground bait, like they absolutely love ground bait, so you feed and they go down and they're eating it, but if you put too much stuff to occupy them on the bottom, it's as if they sort of mess the peg up. They're like digging to try and find the micros or the maggots or whatever, and they end up off bottom because it's, I imagine down there is very cloudy and they can't see a lot, and you end up just with false indications. And I get the same thing where you like your float lifts out, you think that's an amazing lift bite, you strike and there's like nothing there, or on the odd occasion you foul hook them. And it's I've sort of worked out the more I put in my ground bait, the more that happens. So I've gone very much to like ground bait with an odd dead maggot in there. And fishing, I always set up 2 rigs. I always set up a nice rig that's, with this particular venue, it's sort of 12, 13 foot deep. So I generally fish like a 1.5 grams or 1.25 grams kerry, which is just set nice with a sort of like an olivet, but then a reverse taper sort of thing. It's actually the Will Raisin 42 centimetre rig, if you've seen it. That's what I go with that. But then I also set up a double bulk rig, and when that starts happening, where I start getting these funny bites, either like a little dink that you miss or a lift bite that you miss or whatever that is, I go onto my double bulk rig, because it's basically you can be more patient, you can have 6-inch line on the bottom, and those lift bites only really happen when they lift that second bulk up. So I always pull them up so that bulk is, I imagine that my hook length's here on the bottom and the bulk sort of like just off bottom, and when the fish picks my hook bait up, basically picks my hook bait up and moves off bottom, which I imagine bream feeding, they generally go down, pick your bait up and then tip up and pick your bait up with it, and that lifts that bulk, and then the body's out the water and you give it a big one and they're hooked. But that,
he's on.
Yeah, nice. And that double bulk rig, when you're getting those sort of indications, has been absolutely amazing for me. I absolutely love it, which sort of one of those things that has sort of faded away, the old double bulk, isn't it? But it's so effective for better skimmers and bream when like indications are a bit iffy.
Yeah, nice. I like
that. Alan Oliver, too many micros plus too much overdepth. Cheers, lads. Yep, that's in summary pretty much it, I would say.
Definitely.
Right, I'm pretty certain we've worked our way through all the questions. If anybody's got any last minute ones, we can do. We're coming up to an hour's worth of live, and an hour's worth of trying to get you onto the
Sorry.
video. But yes, as well as that, obviously with myself and Andy, we're always out filming, getting his crash course done. So always wanting to know what we want to do next. What's in the pipeline? What are we going to do next time, Andy? So we're going to be when are we out next?
Where are we going? When are we out next? Is it
March the 4th?
March the 4th next. Oh, that'll be. Will that be coming on to?
You'd like
Pelly then, wouldn't it?
You'd like to think it's going to be decent by then, isn't it? Well, hopefully warmed up a bit, but just about the start of it. But that might be new product time. Might be time to start teasing some new products.
Let's just go for shallow. Top boom. Yes, new product time. That'll do. Yes, proper.
So we'll be excited for that.
To it.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know anyway in the comments below. We can what you want us to do. In the meantime, we'll get these last couple of products, these last couple of questions done. What lackey do I want in my short kits?
What now?
Well, he's put 7s or 9s, Jory. Yeah, for now, and in general short kits going into the summer as well, I'd imagine.
I mean, as a rule, I still wouldn't personally be on short kits yet, just because they look up a little bit too quick. If you hook something, really big, I'd still be on the top 2 kits on single 6s, single 8s, that kind of thing. But if you are fishing a lot of sort of carp, F1 venues in particular, then I'd go definitely 7s for now until it gets that little bit warmer, and you feel as though you're stripping that 7s a little bit too much. That's when going up to a 9s. Or even in 11s, if the fish are a little bit bigger, if it's mainly sort of 2 pound stamp F1s and carp that size and a little bit bigger, go straight to the 11s. I fished a 13 the other day at Muncall, and it was weird. I'm used to 5s and 6s, folks, and using the blooming 13s, walloped in these carp and heck, it was just horrible playing with because I'm just not used to it. So yeah, definitely 7s to start with, and when it gets a little bit warm, go for a 9s.
Sounds great. 9's the pink one, isn't it? That's the one, isn't it? And then and then the green
white. That's it. I can't wait for white elastic again.
Yeah. Right. I think that'll do us. We've been on an hour. Like I say, we will be doing these once a month, different angler each time. So we had Des last time, Andy this time. We'll mix it up. We'll get Andy back on.
You'll be on time next time, folks. Sorry.
Yeah, now you know what to do. Any more questions, let us know. We'll try and answer them in the comments anyway. But thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and we shall see you soon.